I traveled all over the world to seek out the weird and wonderful of black magic. In my travels, I discovered something much more darker, grittier, and horrid. There is nothing pleasant about black magic in poor countries, and it is forced to use for revenge and have an advantage over someone else. You can say the problem with black magic is humans and their greed, jealousy, and psychopathic leading them to use it for other means. I remember traveling to Bangladesh many years ago, and it was like landing on a different planet because everything was different from culture, religion, and the way they did things. Poverty was everywhere, and it was so normal, and the begging was constant. But at the same time, there were pleasant things like the great views of the farmlands and the nice people that were there. The food was also amazing. I went over there to see the black magic they use and how they did it. And many warned me of its dangers and the dangers of going close to someone who could use it. I spoke to victims of black magic who kept on receiving misfortunes after a lifetime of great success, and the bad luck came over with them, like a gust of wind. The victim had lost everything from his business and even his wife and kids, who had succumbed to the strange sickness no doctor in the world could treat. He was now homeless and had gone a little insane due to his bad experiences. And now and then, he would talk to himself.
I lost everything to black magic. I lost everything, and what did I do to deserve the misfortune that had befallen me?
The man had said as he started to tear up. Can you explain to me what kind of black magic? I tried asking him.
I lost everything because someone cursed me, and now I am no one, and no one knows me.
The man retorted, and I knew I wasn't going to get much out of him. Then something interesting happened, and by chance, I had met the guy who put the curse on him. A note for me was first given to the receptionist at the hotel that I was staying at, and it was the secretive man who put the curse on the other fella. It was telling me where to meet him. I dared myself to meet him, and I don't know what I was expecting for him to be like, but he was just an ordinary man who had managed to put a curse on his ex-employer.
The reason I did it was because I hated working for him, and I was jealous of my ex-boss's life and wanted to ruin him. I do feel bad, but there was nothing I could do now. I guess I still sometimes keep an eye on him for some odd reason.
And he also decided to show me the areas where black magic were being practiced. Then this guy told me something else that has been involved and new in the black magic world.
Something new and exciting has come up in black magic in Bangladesh.
He told me. What is it? I excitedly replied.
It's hard to explain, and best to show you.
He told me. I was instantly interested, and he told me.
There's an event of some kind happening in a large building, which is abandoned now. You should come and check it out.
And he gave me an address. And on the day, I got a taxi to the very place. There was a huge family who were all crying and were all angry. And you can sense their disillusionment in the world. There were some police officer type of people to control the whole event. And there was a man kneeling on the ground being handcuffed. The door to the building had been opened, and everyone went inside, but the man in handcuffs tried to resist a little.
No, please. I don't want to go inside.
The man in handcuffs pleaded and begged.
Get inside the building, you scum!
One police officer shouted at the cuffed man.
Get inside the building, or we will shoot you here right now.
The second police officer had shouted at the man.
Okay, I will go in, please. Don't hurt me.
When we all went inside, the very first thing we noticed was that a room had existed where the whole floor was one big Ouija board. This room was the size of a large living room, and I couldn't believe the floor was being one big Ouija board. And it was beautifully made. There was a bit of space for spectators to watch, and then come to find out from one of the security guards that the guy in handcuffs had murdered a son that belonged to a large family.
That scum murdered the son of a well-known, respected family.
The officer told me.
He is going to be used as something to be used.
Instead of going to prison, the family had decided to use the killer as a planchette for their deceased son to speak to them. I have never heard of such a thing, but fully invested in watching. It all went down, and when it was time to go, the killer tried to beg to the family to not let him be used as a planchette. But you can see not one forgiving soul among them, and especially the mother. He was forced onto the Ouija board, and he started to cry.
Please forgive me for murdering your son. I'm so sorry. Don't use me as a planchette, I beg of you.
The handcuffed man cried out.
Go to hell, you
I hope
piece
you
of
die
crap.
a slow death.
Oh,
Go
you're so
to
lucky
hell,
I'm not in there
piece
with
of
you.
crap.
All the family members were shouting out loud to the man in cuffs. He even shouted out to God. Nothing came to help him. Next, the killer, on the floor, started to move around on the Ouija board, but he wasn't making the movements, not voluntarily. Something else was moving him.
Oh no, please, make it stop. I can't control my body.
The handcuffed killer pleaded.
You deserve everything you get, you killer.
One of the family members shouted out loud.
Die! Just die!
Another family member shouted at the killer. You can tell that it was uncomfortable for the man being used as a planchette, and every question the mother was asking her deceased son, the killer's body would be used to go to every specific letter, or to a yes or no. The killer begged him to stop this, and he wasn't enjoying it at all. And the reason why this man killed the son was because he was begging for money, and it was not given to him. Therefore, the son was killed with a knife in the heat of the moment. The killer begged.
You deserve everything you get, killer!
Multiple family members shouted back at him. After 3 hours of this, the family decided they would come back tomorrow. And the killer was asleep on the Ouija board ground. And he was glad the session was over, but it would start again tomorrow. Something looked off with the killer on the Ouija board, and even though I did find it cruel, I had to admit to myself that it was fascinating. I went back to my hotel, not knowing what I was feeling, and I wanted to check it out all over again. And I couldn't sleep because the excitement was too much for me. The next day, at nighttime, we all had to meet up again at the large abandoned building, and the killer had been fed. But when he realized that the second session was about to begin, he started to cry again, begging to the family members to let him go.
Please, someone help me.
Please, there's something wrong with my body. Oh, please forgive me.
The killer begged again. The mother of the deceased son had shouted back at the killer.
You deserve no mercy, and that you should suffer till the end of time.
The second session, the mother had cried out to her deceased son, and the killer's body was being used again as a planchette. And every answer the deceased son gave to his family was a happy moment for everyone. This time, the killer was acting even more unusual. He started to speak in a twisted tongue. He even started to float a bit in the air. And the family were also concerned as the deceased son's message was being disrupted by some force. The killer then floated in the air completely still, and multiple voices were being heard out of him. The killer splurted, and the family members were all laughing. Whatever had invaded his body had ripped his arms and legs, and blood splattered everywhere. The mother cried out to her son.
No, son, speak to us. Say more things to us. Don't leave us.
We were all escorted out. The family waited outside, but the people that were acting as security for the event told everyone to go home, as they were going to clean up the place. The next day, early morning, I wanted to help clean up the event. The security guards allowed me to help clean up, but we all had to wear a scarf around our mouth and nose, and it had a special symbol on it. I had to ask them what the symbol was for. The security guard told me
That when a person is being used as a planchette, the very air we breathe could be swarming with spirits and demons. And sometimes you could breathe them in temporarily and become possessed temporarily.
this scarf was essentially an oxygen mask in a magical sense. And as I helped them clean up the Ouija board room and helped them clear the blood and the body bits from the killer, I noticed one security guard had taken off his scarf. It was a hot day, so I couldn't understand why he did that. Then suddenly, I could see him talking and laughing. Then after a while, I saw another security guard just going up to him, laughing with him. Then, the security guard that took off his scarf was laughing to himself and talking to himself. He would also complain to the second security guard to not interrupt him when he was having a conversation.
I'm trying to have a conversation here. Don't interrupt me.
The security guard told the other guard.
Who are you talking to?
The guard replied back. Then everyone had noticed that the security guard had taken off his scarf, was breathing in spirits and demons, and was talking to multiple things. And the other security guard, which was his brother, was trying to make his brother seem normal by laughing with him, to make it as if he wasn't talking to himself. He had to go outside after an hour. The security guard who took off his mask had gone back to normal. Some of these security men were ex-police in Bangladesh, and they had made money off grieving and angry family members who paid them to let them use whoever they wanted to hurt and make him as planchettes. It was a strange way to make money, but I guess in a poor country like Bangladesh, you have to find ways to make money that are not conventional. Bangladesh is rife with corruption and with poverty. It would force anyone to do anything that are not well intended. There are good people and those who help, but at the same time, there is evil right in your face, and the raw animal nature of humans on display. I enjoyed seeing the farmlands and the happy family workers, the children playing, as it felt so natural and something which humans were so more involved to do. I then saw the city rife with murders and crime, and each dark corner black magic. I never thought that I would be so utterly blown away by Bangladesh as I saw a human being used as a planchette. And it will stay with me forever, even though the man was being used as a planchette was a killer. I did feel sorry for him and the way he was used as an object. My time in Bangladesh was coming to an end, and my next country was Turkey, which had more structure and riches. It had more party scenes for any holiday goers. There was black magic scenes among the Turkish people, and I was ready to meet them. At this point, I was ready for anything, and I wanted to see more. To my surprise, what I had seen in Bangladesh with a person being used as a planchette, the same had been developed in Turkey. It's crazy how humans will get all the same idea. And the person who was going to take me to see the black magic areas for a lot of cash was surprised at me for already seeing it. Unlike Bangladesh, this use of humans as planchettes as entertainment in Turkey and rebellious parties goers of their own will and not forced at all to be used as a planchette. The first party I had gone to was in a mansion. The mansion was beautiful and all glittered up, and the alcohol was going around, and there was a huge room on the floor was again one big Ouija board. There were spaces made for watchers and spectators for reveal, and to be amazed at such sight. There was a woman who wanted to be used as a planchette, and she wore special robes, and everyone was scared of her, but also respected her. This was a totally different environment compared to Bangladesh. This woman sat down in the middle of the Ouija board, and random people started to call out whichever spirit was present, and nobody had any kind of grudge. But then, the woman on the Ouija board started to move around on the Ouija board, but it was clear that it wasn't her movements, but something else. The noise she made wasn't fear, but of acceptance, like this was normal.
Karaka, Sambrata, Lurata, Simrata, burning ice cold.
The woman was saying random things.
Death is beautiful and graceful, and a bloody death is better.
The woman started to say as she floated around on the Ouija board. Her body used to go to certain letters, and people were writing down what words were being created. And this woman seemed to be taking it a lot better than the guy in Bangladesh. I guess it was because she was more accepting of it. When the words form as a sentence, we all read it.
I am dead, and I will get you all.
I am dead, and I will get you all. And then the woman needed a break. We were all mesmerized, and as the party goers were eating the food and drinking, one guy who was rich had the crazy idea where he wanted to make the whole world one big Ouija board.
Each country would represent a letter, and the pilot would use a planchette.
And people were telling him that he was crazy. He got a bit angry and started telling people off. He even got a little physical, and angrily told everyone that.
I will make the world one big Ouija board.
And security had to pull him out very quickly. Then there were some who were worried about the message which was coming up, and read it. I am dead, and I will get you all. And I guess they wanted more context and meaning behind the message. When the woman who was being used as a planchette was feeling better, she decided to talk to some of the guests, and unfortunately, she herself didn't understand the message. She was proud and grateful to be used as a planchette, and she found it empowering to be a tool and to send message to and from the afterlife into this life. This was a completely different outlook compared to Bangladesh, and she was almost like a spiritual guru of some sorts, and she told everyone not to fear the Ouija board, and the resistance of the power of the Ouija board is more dangerously compared to being more accepting.
I love being a planchette. It is my world, and it is who I am to let the spirits use my body to communicate to you all. It is a blessing me being here talking to you all. It is not evil or backwards, but a science the world does not yet fully understand.
The woman said to everyone. That could explain the guy in Bangladesh why he was having such a hard time being a planchette. The woman was being ready to be a planchette again, and the spectators called out to the spirits, and the woman's body will go to the same letters which spell out the same sentence.
I am dead and will get to you all.
And even when we weren't reaching out to the spirits, the woman's body was still moving on its own, spelling the same sentence. And suddenly, the woman said,
I will come for you all. I will come for you all. You all are worthless pieces of crap, and it will be the end of you all.
The woman shouted out as she was spinning on the ground on her own. At one point, it looked like the woman wasn't breathing, and her eyes were dead. And we all ran onto the Ouija board, trying to stop her body from being moved. But whatever it was strong. We all got off the Ouija board and started looking at the woman's body being moved by whatever force that was. The sound it was making when being moved on the floor. The sound was horrifying to all of us. Everybody's smile turned upside down, and then her body stopped moving on its own. The woman's body then lifted itself in the air. First, her arm came off and touched one of the spectators. It wouldn't come off. Then, the woman's leg came off and touched to another spectator's head. The woman floating in the air kept shouting out,
I am dead and I will touch all of you.
And then her arm and leg reattached themselves back to the woman. and she went back onto the floor. She was completely fine.
I'm fine, do not fear me. And the message was right, that I will touch all of you. And I did. It is a blessing what we all witnessed here today. This is amazing and not scary nor ungodly, but a science which is yet to be more refined. Now go home and rest all of us, and delight in what you saw.
The woman told us all. Unfortunately, anyone recording this will be impossible to do, as all electric devices stop working when a human is being used as a planchette. We only have our memories. The woman was completely fine, and she felt more blessed than ever as more activity was being used through her. And the partygoers were hugging her, and they all went home. And then some of the partygoers started to show signs of possession. I then remember what the Bangladesh security guards had told me when they were cleaning up the abandoned building. The air became toxic with spirits. I remember the symbols they had used in the scarf to clear the oxygen for me. And so I found something similar to a scarf and wrote down the symbol and got out of there while wearing it. That was one hell of a party. I remember feeling full of energy back at the hotel, and my head just couldn't stay calm for one moment. 2 different countries were using humans as planchettes, and one was used for punishment while the other was used for entertainment. I don't know what to think. And the Turkish woman definitely handled it as a planchette much better than the guy in Bangladesh. Although the Turkish woman had lifetime of training with black magic, while the Bangladesh man was just some random homeless guy who had committed a crime, and as punishment being used as a planchette against his will. I then thought of the rich guy at the party that wanted to use the whole world as one big Ouija board. I laughed to myself at the idea, and I gave my details at the party to event makers to contact me if they ever do an event like that again. I wanted to see more, and I guess I was blessed to have seen it already. I already left the country and returned to my own in England. I don't know what to think, really, and I really just want to go back and see more of it, and I'm more cautious of black magic than ever, and I was lucky that I haven't been cursed by a jealous individual. I kept thinking about that man in Bangladesh who was being used as a planchette. I kept seeing him in my dreams. As I had saved some money, I had created a room where the floor was one big Ouija board, and I found a man desperate enough to be a planchette. He laid himself on the Ouija board, and I called out to the Bangladesh man who was being forced as a Ouija board. Then suddenly, the guy started to move on the Ouija board on his own. The sentence was kept to be spelled out for what it was. I don't want to do this. And then my guy started to shout out the same thing.
I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
Then he started to float in the air, and his limbs came off of his body. Blood was everywhere. Then it was all silent, and as I got the scarf and put it around my face, I was cleaning up all the blood and body bits. As I was cleaning, all I could think to myself was, I have brought this way of magic to England, and I can make a living off of it. Good night, farewell, and remember, don't get lost in the dark.